Hi divers, Alec Peirce again. Another sea hunt episode for you. We talked in the last episode about sea hunt and how it was the biggest TV show of its time and how its impact still exists even today. The thousands of people around the world enjoy sea hunt episodes. You can see them on YouTube. You can actually still buy all of the episodes on Amazon and in DVD and so on. They're fantastic. I told you that I would share some interesting, what I think is interesting information about my collection. I have the largest sea hunt collection in the world. I have a lot of really interesting items. I have a lot of very rare items. By very rare, I mean I have the one that exists. That's rare, right? So we're going to share that. I'm going to talk to you about some of the interesting things, and hopefully the whole intent of these sea hunt episodes is to, first of all, inform you about sea hunt, because it did affect you, whether you believe it or not. And secondly, to hopefully give you some appreciation for sea hunt. And thirdly, maybe some of you will want to collect your own sea hunt stuff. I know there's lots of guys out there already collecting sea hunt, and I'm not talking to you. Some of my closest friends, Carl and Jerry and Robbie and Alan, all kinds of buddies in our sea hunt group. Yes, we have a sea hunt group and a vintage group that already collects sea hunt memorabilia. Well, maybe you'd be interested as well. There's lots available, and it's really interesting, a lot of fun if you're a diver, so maybe it'll get you interested in doing that as well. Today, on this episode, I want to share just one small aspect of my collection, and it is probably the most common part of the collection. That is the comic books. When sea hunt first began in 1958, almost immediately Ziv Productions authorized Dell Comics to begin a series of comic books based on sea hunt episodes. They were very, very popular. I personally remember dying, just waiting for a sea hunt issue to come out so I could get mine as quickly as possible. And there were thousands sold. They were sold around the world, different languages as well. They're very, very common. There were 13 comics that were produced in North America. Other countries produced comics as well under license, and they actually produced more than 13. We'll get to that a little later when I talk about the German sea hunt comics. It's pretty neat. But I want to deal with just the original 13 North American, U.S. if you like, comics published by Dell Publishing. And it's pretty interesting. To give you a quick overview before we begin, the comic books themselves were very interesting. Remember, this was in the days of Roy Rogers and Wyatt Earp and those kind of comic books, and they were all the same. They showed a cowboy with his gun on the front. The sea hunt comic books were a little different. They were pretty exciting. Mike Nelson, ex-Navy frogman, underwater, crime fighter. Look at this one, Mike Nelson. Then look, another comic book, Mike Nelson. Famous mask I talked about in the first episode. Regulator. Look at him. He's ready to go. He's got his knife on. Spear gun. I'm going to show you that knife. I'm going to talk about that spear gun too. One of our other episodes. Now here's a pretty one. Look at this one. This is a great cover. Look at that. Beautiful break that is. 10 cents, by the way. Do you know it's 10 cents? Yeah. And 10 cents in the 50s or 60s. Mind you, that was like $1.50 today. But anyway, beautiful cover on there. There's that famous B4 mask again, and the regulator. There's that spear gun that I have. There's his famous which is that, oh no, that's not his watch, that's his canteen watch and his gauge. We'll talk about watches and gauges in a while. Again, and here's an exciting one. Look, Mike Nelson, no cowboy hat, no gun. But tell me that's not exciting. Nighttime, climbing a rope ladder, sneaking up on somebody, trying to figure out what's going on out there. Look at that, huh? And another, this is a well-known one, issue number 7, red, Mike Nelson standing casually with his double tanks, his twin tanks. You see that? And weight belt over his shoulder. Oh yeah, it's classic Mike Nelson. I'm ready for anything. Here's a really good one here. Nice, pretty comic book cover. And this is number 8. And Mike Nelson again, B4 mask on his forehead. And he's got that famous Morden spear gun. Very, very rare. We only know of 3 of these in existence. Talk about rare pieces of sea hunt memorabilia. This was a gun that was made in Italy, sold for maybe 2, maybe 3 years here in North America. Very expensive. Nobody bought it. Very rare. We only know 3 of them. I'll show you one. I have a perfect one, a perfect edition. We'll talk about that as well. One more just to show you quickly. Here's another classic Mike Nelson sea hunt comic. Still only 10 cents. Oh no, it's 15 cents. It went up to 15 cents. Darn, 50% increase. Anyway, and this is a special comic because this one is signed by Lord Bridges. for me. Anyway, there's a quick overview, but I want to talk about one comic in particular today. We'll touch on all of them over the time as we talk about them, so you sea hunt collectors in particular will get lots of neat information, and you prospective sea hunt collectors can learn a little bit, have some idea what you're looking at. So let's talk about the logical one. That's issue number 1. This is it right here. Issue number 1. Beautiful comic book, great condition. This would be a very good or a fine. It's called very good or fine. The black comic covers are the hardest to find in great condition because you can see how they crack very easily. The worst thing I do with my collection items is take them out of the bags and show them to people. This is the worst thing I can do. It's hard on them. But I do it all the time anyway because I want to share this with you. This is exciting to me. I want you to enjoy the excitement as well. Some people say, well, you shouldn't take them out of the bag, Alec, they'll get damaged. What's the point? I don't have these for the money, it's for the fun. I do put a stiffener in the middle, and as you can see, there's the middle, and you see the colors inside of the comic. They're beautiful, beautiful comic books. See that? Nice white pages, picture on the inside of Mike Nelson, and then the story of Mike Nelson in there. And right in the middle, at the end of the first episode, they usually had, let me just see what's in here, usually had another little story in here as well. It stopped and started with a different story. Maybe not this one. I've read these so many times. And at the very end, there's usually another small section at the very end, a little story, something on the very back inside cover. And then this particular one has a what we call a picture story. So there's a series of pictures and it tells a story. This particular one is the Temple of the Depths, and it talks about buildings and temples, churches, if you like, underwater that have been discovered by divers. So it's a little picture story. So that is number 1, the very first issue of Sea Hunt. Created a lot of excitement. Everybody was excited about the Sea Hunt comic. I have 3 of these. So why do I have 3? Let me show you why. First of all, I have 3 because this one, which appears to be almost exactly the same as this one, and it should appear to be almost the same, it's exactly the same issue. A little difference in the color, but that's the print run. Could be the age, but it's more likely the print run. Everything in this book is exactly the same, identical. Every page, front to back, until you get to the very back cover. Watch. Aha! This is issue number 1 with the picture story on the back. This is what's called a variant. This is quite common in the old days. So this variant on the back of this particular copy of Sea Hunt issue number 1 is an ad for Juicy Fruit. You remember Juicy Fruit? They still make Juicy Fruit. So there's an ad in there about a couple of kids out there playing, and he gets hurt and play safe. And so don't get hurt, play safe, have Juicy Fruit. Whatever. So that's an ad on the back. That's called a variant. So you see, depending on where the comics were going to be distributed, might cause a variant. So if the comics were going to be distributed in a market where Juicy Fruit was either not available, hard to believe, but where the Juicy Fruit company was not prepared to pay for advertising in that market because they would pay for different advertising. Maybe they would have the ad on the back and pay for New York, but they didn't want to advertise in Chicago, so they wouldn't pay for Chicago. So Dell Publishing would produce for the Midwest market this comic, you see, and then for the New York market, where the Juicy Fruit company, what's that actually called, Wrigley's company that made you, they would say, okay, we want our ad to appear in the New York market. Well, then Dell Publishing would have a Sea Hunt issue with the Juicy Fruit ad. You see? So it's called a variant. And they're not hard to find. It just takes a little bit of work. So that's the reason I have 2 of those. They're different. And that's what a collection is all about. A collection is trying to get the items in the particular area that you've chosen, in this case Sea Hunt memorabilia, and trying to get the different ones that might be available as well. So, if it comes in different colors, you want to get both colors, and so on, you see. So what's the third one? Well, the third one is even more special. These comic books, that is the general and the original, with the picture story on the back, relatively easy to find. The variant with the Juicy Fruit gum ad on the back, relatively easy to find. I hesitate to tell you this, I don't want to discourage you at all, but this issue appears to be the same, doesn't it? It looks almost exactly the same. Almost exactly the same. This particular issue, you won't be able to find. I'm sorry. Please don't get upset. You will not find this one, because this is it. This is the only one. What do I mean? How do I know? Watch. This particular issue of Sea Hunt #1 is really just the covers. So there's the front cover and there's the back cover. Happens to be the one for Wrigley's, right? Wrigley's Juicy Fruit. And then there's the inside of the covers as well. This is multiple layered. So you see there's several layers there. There's the outside piece of cardboard and then the inside. And here's the inside. So you saw this earlier. That's the inside front cover. And there's the inside back cover, okay? Man beneath the seat. You remember seeing that in the comic I showed you. So what is this? It's just a cover. Yeah, it's just a cover. That's all it is. Big deal. Ah, it is a big deal. You see what it says right there? Shop Dummy, with some writing on it. You see the writing down here? And if you look on the inside, a couple of places there's a bit of writing as well. I don't see any, but it's there. Shop Dummy again. What is this? Well, here's the way it works. It's very simple. They would take Lloyd Bridges, Mike Nelson, and take a series of pictures for him. And they would take these are the pictures going to be used for the front cover. They could take a bunch and they would say, okay, that one, I like that one right there. And that would be the one that would appear on this magazine. Okay? And then somebody in graphics would design the inside cover. And somebody would design this man beneath the sea. And then Wrigley's would submit their ad to go on the outside back cover. And then somebody at the production company, at the publisher, Dell, would have to put this all together. Get all those bits and pieces, all those components, and put it together. And see, so they put the picture on there. And then they would say, as it says on here, face color is not correct. Should be more red. So they wanted this changed a little bit. They wrote right on it. Okay, this is not good enough. Make this a little bit more red. And then on the back, the ad was okay. On this one, there's a spot up here. You see the little red circle around it? That spot had to be removed. There's 2 or 3 little spots that are just not perfect on this. So they would make notes right on the Shop Dummy. This is it. And then this would go back to graphics, back to design, back to printing, wherever it had to go. And they would make those corrections. And finally, the editor would say, okay, it's perfect. And then that copy, this copy, would then go to the printing department to be printed to become the comic book. Okay? What happened to the Shop Dummy? Afterwards, well, we don't need it, so they threw it out. Went into the garbage. Gone. You see why you're not going to get one? Because that's it. I happen to have that discarded, that trashed Shop Dummy. Now you know why I have 3 issues #1 and why they're special, particularly that one. I just dropped on the floor, by the way. Anyway, I hope that makes sense to you. We're going to share some more ideas about that. Not just all comic books. I'm going to go to something a little more interesting, maybe a little more exciting on my next episode about Sea Hunt. But I hope that gives you some idea about Sea Hunt itself, about the Sea Hunt comics, about collecting, and about some of the special things you get involved in when you start to collect Sea Hunt. That's it, folks. Talk to you soon. Alec Peirce, Sea Hunt Remembered.